Hello everyone, welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you so much for coming to the channel. We're at the 12-gallon bookshelf aquarium at eye level if I am standing in the fish room, which I'm doing now to film. I've spent about 5-10 minutes trying to find the optimal place to make this video with a minimum of reflections. And I beg your pardon, when I move in or do certain other maneuvers with this camera, we're bound to see some reflection. I'm gonna do all I can to mitigate that, but that being said, let's check out this awesome tank. First of all, while I'm on this medium wide shot, that is a 12-gallon footprint. It looks so much bigger when you're seeing it on video. So many people have commented to that fact. And that's because of the length, right? That bookshelf, that length creates the optical illusion of a long chunk of river or some such biotope. And that's exactly why it's so beloved in our community. The bookshelf aquarium is growing in its popularity, and you can see why. It's also very easy to work with plants immersed out of the water, both in and out of the water, because you can get from the bottom to the top very easily and manage root growth. Other plants, make room for one, move over. It's just a joy to aquascape and work in a footprint like this, so I highly recommend it. This particular glass box was made by Lifeguard Aquatics. That's their logo right there. So it's spelled with a G-A-R-D, not like lifeguard at the beach. And I will just say they make perfectly good low glass, the kind of tanks that UNS and ADA sell for about 20% more money. And so far so good with this one. I don't really see a difference in quality. And I've done a lot in this tank, and it hasn't shown any leaks or wear or tear. Anywho, so check them out if you're looking for this particular footprint. And let's start with the emergent plants. All of those up here, this is the immersed form of a Rotala, and no one's quite been able to tell me which one it is. I've tried converting it below water with it's still to be determined. I couldn't get a really good plant growth when I took this and put it into an experimental vase to try and grow it. I don't know why. The vase didn't have CO2 and it had a mediocre light, but nevertheless I was hoping to get the submerged form and be able to tell you what kind of Rotala this is. I've cut tons of pieces of this, and every time I do, it just keeps on growing. I love that pink stem and the wonderful dark green and light green leaves comprising the immersed growth. It's going haywire in this aquarium, and I'm mostly okay with that. I have had to clip some just so this light up here, what you can see of it, is able to penetrate into the aquarium, which I'll talk about shortly. On this piece of driftwood, which you can't see anymore, I literally laid it across the top of this aquarium over, I don't know, getting on 2 years now. And I put some mosses and stuck some pothos in the back and other plants like this Rotala, and here we are 2 years later. Now, as I go down, I'm going to try to avoid reflection as best I can. Look at all that root growth. It is so cool. Now I'm going to go in past my reflection, past that shot, and get us right in there. It is just an intense forest, and nanofish love that. It gives them so much security. And I have a lot of fish in there, including a group of clown killifish or rocket killifish, like this lovely male up here. That rootstock, by the way, folks, is primarily from the pothos, which you can barely even see anymore. It's in the back, though, and there's a ton of it back there growing out of the water, and that's its roots. The Rotala's roots stay more in the mossy driftwood. It's more terrarium-like in its desire versus sending down roots here, although some of these newer, more feathery ones up front belong to both the Brazilian pennywort, this long strand here, as well as the Rotala that I've been talking about. So that piece of driftwood, the Rotala is crossing and bridging over to the other piece of driftwood, which was not laid across the top. It was fully down at the bottom. It was the anchor on the left side when I was first aquascaping this, but nature has definitely taken over the aquascaping duties. I'm merely trying to maximize what she's doing to this aquarium, and I love everything about it, almost. There's always room for improvement, but this has Java fern out the yin yang that sort of grows up and into all those other plants that I've talked about: pothos, Rotala, Brazilian pennywort, and in the back there's quite a bit of anubias. You see where it has grown along and down into the center of the aquarium, and there from this shot you can see the anubias sort of centered between those two cryptocorn plants, common crypt, probably Wendetti, and it has the bronze red feature in there. You see all the low light loving anubias. I'm telling you, there is $100 worth of that plant behind this, and I don't see it, but it's really healthy and it's doing good, and I manage it when I'm cleaning the filters because the outflow for this filter is back there, and I do manage it. I have a small Oase canister. I think it's their 100 filter. It's the smallest one with the heater built in, so without screwing up the number or the skew, you know, that's what it is. So it's a small shape, and I just literally set it next to this bookshelf and ran the pipes. That's the intake closer to me and the outtakes in the back. And I do manage it to get more than a trickle out of there. I want a nice bit of flow so I don't go back there one day and discover a crap ton of algae or other sort of toxic accumulations. As I said, there's clown killifish in here. There is neon green rasboras, autocinclus, and dwarf pencilfish. Let's go in through the reflection. You see the clown killies. They have reproduced in here. I've grown up a couple babies. It's funny, I only get a couple to get into juvenile state. I never see a whole group of them. And the same with the pencilfish. I've got a couple juveniles that I raised up in here. There is, look at how fat and happy that autocinclus is. Why wouldn't he be, right? And there's a few different kinds of snails, a small mystery snail, a couple ram's horn. There are Malaysian trumpet snails in here, my least favorite, but they're in here. And because of the hyper-organic, au naturel vibe of this tank, you know, overrun with snails doesn't really happen, or when it does happen, everything's overrun in here. Honestly, that's probably what I'll title the thumbnail: Overrun and Loving It. You can quote me on that. It's just, if I've got 100 ram's horn snails in here, it doesn't matter. I only see what it's so hard to see anything en masse. At feeding time, I will see all dozen of these. I have chili rasboras. I'm sure one will come in front of the camera. There's like a dozen of them in here, so I'm surprised we're not finding them in this close-up. I have a bunch of Neocaridina shrimp. Many of them reverted to their wild color form. And there's a rocket killie, and my hand and the camera. Ay, guy, that's a problem. And I've tried everything, folks. Up top, if I'm looking down, which is a really cool vantage point, you can see just all the different kinds of topwater plants: frogbit, water lettuce, duckweed, and then that Brazilian pennywort, which is just ever so slowly snaking along the whole horizontal nature the whole horizontal shape and footprint of this aquarium. I'd love to be able to get in closer, but I find it annoying, the reflection, and I'm sure you do too. Fortunately, it's very attractive to look at this tank from a medium shot, and that's what we're doing for a moment here. As I said, there's a pencil fish. You see him with the stripes there? Right there. I put in a group of adults and they have spawned. They're egg scatterers, I think, just like the clown killies, although they might scatter them in a more precise fashion into an area and space that they like. My guess is some spawning has happened behind that structure here to the left where all the Anubias is. I'm gonna move over and try a different angle here. There you see my shirt, you see other aquariums in the background. That shot's more or less a fail, but at least you get to see the badass, cool vantage point and footprint of this aquarium. Now I've got some of my collection of aquarium memorabilia. There's an antique or a vintage bubbler made of ceramic, probably hand painted. That's an old heavy one. I found it on Etsy or somewhere online. I've got some lava rock. That kind of lava rock, the dark porous kind, with it's more purple black. It's not the red or straight up black. That's in here as well with the driftwood. There's a piece of it there, and you can see all of the Java fern making its way betwixt and between the wood and the rock there, creating just a mass. The good thing about that mass is it doesn't have problematic algae in it, thank goodness. It's a healthy group. If I were to stick my hand right in the center and pull, I would have live and vigorous plant growth. It wouldn't be some kind of black mush, which, you know, I worried about that because there's like no light penetration at this point in there. But nature finds a way, and the plants that are rising to the occasion, literally and figuratively, are doing very well where there's light and very well where there isn't. And that's, you know, hard to dial in, and I'm glad to have help from nature in doing so. I do water changes on this aquarium less frequently than my other more high-tech aquascapes for obvious reasons. The plants here, there's so much filtration vis-a-vis those plants, and the water parameters in this aquarium are among the most stable and healthy in my entire fish room, a testament to keeping a heavily planted aquarium. There is CO2 as well, and I haven't looked at the spot checker in some time. It's kind of, there it is, it's shrouded back there. It's looking more blue than green, but actually as I look at it through my eye, it's green, which is what you want. But even if it was skewing less CO2, you know, I'm clearly not worried about how these plants are receiving nutrition and growing, because they are. And the eye test over time is really your best test. If you like what you see, and that means healthy fish and healthy plants, and you don't smell anything, and you're not finding algae blooms, then, you know, why do a water change and why test the water? I like to do that stuff in a routine way in the fish room so that I don't get out of the habit. But when I do it on all my aquariums, this and the black water tank are the two that I often skip. So I'll do them bi-weekly, or maybe even bi-monthly, I should say, pardon me, bi-weekly. If there's anything you want to know about this tank, and I wish I could show it to you more, the livestock, without getting that odious reflection, I'm going to, before we close, I'm going to put the camera as close to the glass as possible. There's a Neocaridina shrimp. That's what they call the black rose, which I think is basically one of the wild styled shrimp, not brown but black, but they show jet black, and so they get their own designation. There is some Bucephalandra, maybe the Godzilla or the Kadang, I'm not sure. There's so many boost plants. There's the Anubias. It's got that marbled quality to the leaves. You see no algae. I mean, there's enough for my Otocinclus and snails. Look at how chubby that guy is. That's what you want. There's a ram's horn snail. Down at the bottom, you know, then you can see the stratification, which is desirable. There's a lot of videos, you know, Father Fish, Alex at Fishery, he'll talk about the striations in the sand bed. There is sand and gravel atop aqua soil with various additives that I put in at the very beginning, and you see roots and other bacteria beginning to form that geography, for lack of a better word, at the bottom of the tank. I remember when I was new in the hobby the first time around, I thought that was kind of gross, and I wanted to make it a universe, you know, single color, black or brown on that front view. But now I find it to be very desirable, and I know from my research that it is very desirable, so I don't fear it or try to manage it. As I was saying before I got distracted, if you have any questions or comments about this fish tank, by all means hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. As always, keep your hands in the tank, albeit carefully, and ciao for now.